Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm Nathan, or as you may know me well by now as the Whisky Speaker. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have I got a little treat lined up for you. Now, this is a distillery that doesn't make too much noise. It doesn't, you don't hear it competing with obviously the Diageos of this world or the Chivas Regals. However, that is not to say that this underdog should be ignored. Of course, if you hadn't guessed by the amount of product placement here involved, let me introduce you, the GlenWyvis Distillery. So quickly, a chap, John Mackenzie, retired from the army in 2002, and he then set about creating a whisky distillery, which he did by getting through crowdfunding over £2 million. And in 2016, the distillery frames and infrastructure started to come together quite nicely. But in a very saturated world of whisky, you have to have unique selling points, and as ever, this becomes ever harder and harder and harder to do. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. Just very quickly, wind back the clocks. 1879, the GlenWyvis Distillery in the town of Dingwall in the Highlands ran from about 1879 all the way up until 1926, when Prohibition from America pretty much destroyed the sales of that whisky in that location, and it had been doing fine up until that point. The buildings themselves actually remained all the way until the 90s, until they were unfortunately demolished and made way for flats. Also nearby, which also closed in 1926, was the Whisky distillery. Hence, today we're getting GlenWyvis, a mixture or a mashup of the two names coming together to recognise the heritage in the local area. That also closed at the same time. And then for the next 90 years, whisky in Dingwall could only be bought on the shop shelves from other distilleries. But John wanted to change all this, and that he did with, as mentioned, 2016 crowdfunding. Now, the thing that sets it apart, the unique selling point, USP, is that two things. It is, I believe I'm right in saying, the first green neutral distillery to have been set up, green efficiency, having all of its energy sourced to it from renewable or sustainable providers in the material, which is brilliant because we know the environmental impact is so important in creating whisky, and the energy intensity in there is something that none of us should take for granted. So massive tick in the box. Beautiful. The other thing that is absolutely appealing about this distillery is that it is 100% community owned. It has shares, and they have all been sold and bought like within the up and down the length of the breadth of the UK, and indeed the world. It is the world's community distillery. So these 2 points, I think, actually make it a very, very special distillery, which sets it apart from others. So the actual setup itself is that it's predominantly using unpeated malt. All of this actually originally starts off being processed in a full lauter tun. The barley itself is from beds, sourced in the Highlands grain, so they keep it very much within Scotland, so very distinct character. From there, they actually all the water they actually need for it is actually from a site borehole. The wash is actually fermented in 4,400 litre wash stacks. Of course, they have one wash still. The wash still itself is, if I remember rightly, is 2,500 litres, and is charged to the maximum of 2,500 litres. The spirit still is actually 1,700, make sure I get my facts right, and is actually a lamp glass style, all pure, beautiful, polished copper. And yeah, then it's actually put into casks, which are a mixture of bourbon and sherry, and these can go in at normally the New Make Spirit comes off the still at 68 to 70% alcohol by volume, and then is filled into cask by 63.5, which then actually leads me on quite neatly into the very, very generous bottle that the good guys at GlenWyvis kindly gave me. So indeed, GlenWyvis Distillery's New Make Spirit, distilled, bottled at GlenWyvis, coming in at a very comfortable 63.5, so ready to go into the cask. So this is what I'm going to have the pleasure of reviewing for you guys today. On the back, our New Make Spirit is produced using locally grown, locally malted barley, crystal clear waters from the on-site borehole, as mentioned. So at least I got them facts right. Unhurried, fermented, and warm distillate temperatures produce this fragrant, fruity, malty spirit with a long, distinctively spicy finish. Well, shall we find that out? Let's give it a go. So I don't often actually have a chance to do New Make Spirits, but as we know, this will not become whiskey until just before Christmas 2021, which hopefully, as the years go by and this video ages, hopefully this video will stand the test of time to complement this distillery. So, as ever, you can see there's not really any reason to give you a description of colour, because obviously it hasn't matured at all. I just love how kind of crystal clear that is, almost like the mentioning of their crystal clear waters. It's just perfectly represents that. So, nose. The nose is really sweet, and kind of there's like a malty biscuit in there. Definitely very sweet malty biscuit, and almost like a dried apricot, I would say. The body is short, very intense, but actually the taste itself is very much beeswax. There's like a very much kind of a taste of honey in there with more dried fruits. It's very elegant. There's kind of like a shortbread sweetness about it, with all them dried fruits coming through. The finish itself is long, definitely not dry. It lingers. There's kind of like a kind of polished burnt wood kind of smell and taste on the end. There's definitely a depth, and it is spicy, And there's also on the end there's still that biscuitiness, and also with almost like grape, like a peeled grape, and slightly grassy notes actually on there, which is really, really, really nice. So, guys, that is GlenWyvis. Do check it out. Do keep in touch with it. It's a very, very friendly distillery. These guys, I think, are going to be kind of onto a winner in the future with the quality of what they're producing. If the New Make Spirit's anything to go by, I cannot wait in such eager anticipation to see what their actual final whiskey is going to be like and through the years. So, good luck to them in the future, and thank you very much for joining me. As ever, if you have any questions of anything I've said, anything that you want to find out and you think I can ask or answer, I should say, then please just drop us a line in the comments box below, or go through one of my social websites: Facebook, The Whisky Speaker, Instagram at Speaker Whisky, and Instagram, Twitter, everything. Just give us a shout. And I thank you very much for your time, guys. I do hope you stay safe and well in the meantime, and I do look forward to bringing you another video soon. Bye for now.